Hey everybody, Phil here with my wife, Farah. Today we're going to look at some Reddit posts in our poker that have to do with relationship advice with a poker player or as a poker player.
We definitely don't claim to be relationship experts.
No.
But I will give advice from my heart and from my experience. And
I'll give advice from my mind. This one is called How to Be Open with My Wife About Poker. Hi guys, I've been playing poker, cash games, since I'm 18 years old. I'm currently 28. Play Omaha cash game 2-2 most of the time with $500 buy-in. This is also in the way that he's typing. I think he's European, just because the dollar sign is after, which I guess is not relevant. I try to be honest with my wife. She knows I like poker, but she has zero knowledge about it and how I should manage it. She would be super sad that I lose 1K in one night and super happy if I win 1K. The problem is that I need to keep my bankroll at least above 5K to afford the variance. Again, she would see my bankroll as money that I win, and we should enjoy ourselves with it. So what I'm doing, I'm lowering the figures when I'm winning or losing. For example, if I win 1K, I would tell her that I won $200. If I lose 500, I'd say that I lost 100. The problem is that I don't like lying to her. At the same time, telling her the truth is hard because she would be upset if I have a bad week. He's being smart lying is not good, but he's being smart about, he's understanding that most people don't understand variance, and most people would make the assumptions that he thinks his wife is going to make. And so it is super tough. How do you explain that to somebody is certainly capable of understanding, but I think there's this just like naturally ingrained or societal stigma associated with gambling. And so there are a lot of things people learn, like quit while you're ahead. You're always going to, you're never going to win in the long run, and gambling is associated with losing everything. So most people, if they are not very familiar with how it works, are going to make a lot of bad assumptions.
How would you explain variance to someone who doesn't, has never even heard of the concept or doesn't know anything about poker?
It's really hard to explain to people because what you say is, so the truth is, poker is a skill game, but on any given night and even any given week and sometimes any given month, luck is going to play a large factor in the results. And so over the course of a year or multiple years of play, the best players are going to win. But in any given week, the best player in the world is going to have a losing week, let's say a third of the time. So if I come home and I had a losing week, it doesn't mean that I'm losing in the game. You need to know that I'm trying very hard to learn and play well and win over the long term.
And what you could do for me, and I've had to do this even in years into playing, stop having feelings about it. Just be numb, keep a poker face, and hear the result, and then have no reaction to it. Feel nothing for it. It's going to go up, and it's going to go down, and it's going to go up, and it's going to go down. It's not going to be good for your heart if you're feeling all the swings every single time your significant other loses or wins. So hear it, and then go back to whatever you're doing and throw it out your mind. If your significant other has shown you that they are a winning player over time, just trust them. If they're studying and they understand variance and they understand all the stuff that you just said, just trust them and just relax. Just relax. Or if it hurts too much to know when they lose, I know some couples who they just don't talk about it.
I know a lot of couples who will say, oh, I had a good day or I had a bad day. And that's the extent of it.
And then if you get curious, well, how bad was it? Then maybe you shouldn't even be informed of. Just come home from work. Hey, how's it going?
What he's doing is a version of I had a good day and a bad day, but he's doing it by lying and reducing the magnitude.
So he can, if he wants to stop lying, which we both suggest, she needs to somehow detach herself from the emotions of the results, or they need to have like an unsaid, like he just comes home and then they watch a movie and that's it.
Yeah. How would you go if you're him? How would you go from having lied already to not lying?
It's kind of like saying to her, look, I don't expect you to understand certain nuances of this game. I don't expect you to understand variance. It's very confusing, and you're not a professional. I don't know. I just
You should say you're too dumb to understand.
No, he needs to just say, because I think it's affecting him negatively.
Yeah.
And so it's like, honey, I love you. You're just gonna have to trust me on this. And your emotions are impacting my headspace. And I need you to either stop, or we need to have a different way of communicating about this, which might just be not communicating about it.
Are you suggesting, though, that he doesn't admit that he was lying? That he just says, hey, I don't want to talk about it?
I don't think he needs to say, hey, look, I've been lying. He can just stop.
Yeah.
Because she might be offended if he tells her that he doesn't want to communicate his results with her anymore. So why make it worse by telling her he's already been?
Yeah, I think this is a case where I would say that I was lying.
Of course you would,
but it
because
was
your moral compass is a little bit different.
I would just be really uncomfortable if I didn't, but it's probably better not to. I agree.
Yeah, it's not going to make anything better.
Yeah. This one is titled, Am I Being Weird About This? I'm the definition of a casual player. Garage games are playing $4, $8, same limit. I'm a teacher on winter break, which ends Wednesday. There's a small $65 tourney at my local casino that I want to play tomorrow. So I was going to call the babysitter. It costs about $50. My wife works from home and doesn't want me to pay the sitter. So she told me she'll take some paid time off. She's being really sweet about it and wants me to play. She just doesn't think it's worth paying a sitter. I don't know why, but I don't like how that sounds. My wife has to miss work to look after her kids because I want to play a poker tournament with $300 prize pool. Feels like chapter 1 of how I became a poker degen. So he wants to play. His wife's saying, yeah, go play, but don't hire a sitter.
She's kind of like, it's no big deal. Like, I mean, if she was swamped with work and it was like $25K guarantee or something, I don't know, maybe then she'd think it was worth the babysitter.
We've had, I feel like, times like that where you're stressed because you have a lot to do, and I'd rather pay somebody to do it, and you just want to do it yourself.
What?
I guess childcare mainly.
He probably just felt
he's trying to do something.
He wanted to go do something fun, and then she was like, "No, it's okay. You go have fun. I'll just still, I'll take care of the kid." And he's kind of like, "Well, I
get it. Yeah. He wanted to do something fun and not have her make a sacrifice for it.
Yeah.
And now that she's insisting she makes a sacrifice, he's like, well, maybe I don't want to do this.
As long as she doesn't do that every time, I think it would be fine.
As long as she doesn't resent it, which he can't really know, I guess.
Yeah. Sounds like she doesn't yet.
Yeah. All right. This one is titled, Any Advice for a Girlfriend? So my boyfriend has been super into poker. He lives and breathes poker. All he talks about is poker, and things that aren't about poker are negated or ignored. I've been supportive, maybe too accommodating of his poker journey. I've had no real issues until now. We went on a trip to Las Vegas together, and we both agreed this will be our trip, not a poker trip.
Eek.
And I was working a lot, so from Monday to Wednesday, it wasn't a problem. I took days off for the next half of the trip to spend more time with him, and he had to play poker for our comp room price. His friend joined us so that they can split the hours to play poker, and I figured he would make time for me. Well, the hours he needed to play were a lot, and I was okay with it, but I figured his friend joined so he can cover for him, but that wasn't the case. They both played continually, and obviously I didn't really want to be that girlfriend who whips her boyfriend saying, no, you have to spend time with me. I didn't voice my opinion, thinking he would adjust his time to play a bit, but that didn't happen. We fought when we got back, and he said I should have said something then, but how could I when his friend was with us? I don't know how I can stop him from thinking about poker, let alone him playing. Actually, I want to pause here because I can very much relate to always like obsessively thinking about poker or whatever I'm working on. And it's hard to stop that, but you could stop me from playing. It's hard to stop somebody's thoughts, but it's easy to communicate. I need some time with you. And, we talked about this. So I don't agree with her framing of, he can't even stop thinking about it. How am I going to stop him from playing?
Yes, but everyone's different. And this might be very exciting for him to be in Las Vegas playing poker. And it's really all he wants to do. He probably doesn't want to go have dinner with her. If he did, then he would suggest it.
Yeah, he didn't want to.
Okay, keep on reading.
Another thing on this trip is that we were scheduled to see a show at 9:30. He was in the poker room. So about 9:10-ish, I just waved at him from outside the poker room. And apparently I made him lose a hand in the game, and he got really upset.
Oh my God.
I didn't know what to do. He was so angry and kept saying it's his fault. But also, he did say, why did I have to be there and distract him? I felt so hurt. I also didn't want to fight, so I said I was sorry. In another case, when we were chilling in the hotel, I asked him about a hand, since to me it seems like I can only talk to him and he would listen when it's about poker. And he responded, "You don't even know how to play poker," and smirked at me and laughed. I was super disrespected. I didn't expect him to be such a snob. I like when he shares with me about his hands and games, but like I should also be respected and talk about what I want. Sadly, he's just not someone like that either. How do any of you go about keeping a relationship with someone who doesn't play poker versus someone who's obsessed and just puts you as a second to a game? I really don't know what to do. We tried talking about it, but it ended up him saying, I don't focus on my own life. He kept saying negative things about me, and I ended up feeling bad. But is it really all my fault?
Well, I mean,
No,
it
it's not all
sounds
their
like
fault.
a young and toxic relationship. It's not all your fault. He is just obsessed with poker, and he doesn't have a healthy relationship with poker
No.
or himself. And unfortunately, that is the foundation of a very bad romantic relationship. Yeah, I mean, he showed his true colors on the trip. You're not the first, you're not number one in his life. I think maybe it's like one of those things, like maybe if they met like 5 years later, once he like calmed down a little bit on this,
Yeah.
it sounds like a newfound hobby for him or profession. I don't know if he's trying to be professional, but look, when you're in your early 20s, this is what I'm gathering. Relationships are hard in general, but like when you have someone into something as he is into poker, with no respect for you and your time, then it's just like it's hopeless, I think.
Being somebody who's obsessive, I think you can be with somebody who's obsessed about something, but
He's not even kind, though.
well, that's the sticking points are, when she makes an effort to talk about it, he makes her feel bad, and like I'm sure he didn't do that on purpose, but it should be kind of obvious, like that she's trying to make an effort. There are a lot of elements of here that you don't really know, because maybe she didn't communicate it and he thought that it was a poker trip and she thought it wasn't. So it could have gone that way. And he even said when they got back, well, why didn't you tell me, etc. But I think there are too many red flags that even if we're getting her side of the story, it's just a little too clear that he's not
ready.
He's not
And
making an effort.
this is old, but if this were current, I would say you guys need to part ways, and maybe you'll find your way back to each other when there's been some maturing and some growth. He needs to just get all this poker excitement out of his system. I mean, certainly we can relate to becoming obsessed with poker and loving it and like wanting to do it nonstop. And if that's the mindset you're in, then you need to be honest with yourself, that maybe you are not going to be the best boyfriend until you've gotten your, what's an analogy, a saying? Once you've got your hands on the steering wheel, is that something?
So, I mean, that
he needs to
get a handle on things.
He needs to get a handle on things.
Okay, it's a long one. Buckle up. There's an update at the top I'm going to skip because that's not in the first post, but we can follow it later. Okay. This one is called My Professional Poker Player's Boyfriend is Straining Our Relationship. My boyfriend and I have been together for just over 1 year now. From the very beginning of our relationship, he explained his career of wanting to be a professional poker player, and that is what he has invested his time and money into trying to make a reality. There was no miscommunication on that part between us. He's explained to me that a few years before he met me, he saved up $10K over a year of working to invest into making his professional poker career become real. He has since lost all of that money. He owed his best friend $1K and myself $3K in rent and bills. Initially, he played for a year by himself and for himself. He was already roughly $2 to $3K down at this point. I understand there are down periods. However, I feel as though he has become obsessed with the idea of making big money, and that will justify all the shortcomings and failures financially and emotionally as a partner and as a professional. Till halfway through our relationship, he has switched working for a team of professional poker players online. My partner explains he should have done this sooner, and he attends classes and has learned a lot more than he did on his own. He is $5K down now even with the assistance of a team. I wonder if that means he's made some back or he's down another 5K.
I think he's now down a total of 5K, which
He's made some
he's
back.
lost. He's down 3K.
Oh, okay. Throughout our whole relationship, but more so since we moved in together, which was 6 months ago, having time for each other has always been an issue. I would see him once a week or once every 2 weeks when we didn't live together, though we would make up for that with phone calls or video calls. Since we moved in together, I've tried to negotiate having 1 day a week for ourselves, which we agreed was Saturday. He would play poker or attend classes the other 6 days of the week. The issue is I work very long hours, which can be both physically and mentally draining. I work from 8 a.m. till 6:30 or 7 p.m. Monday to Friday. His hours are 2 to 3 p.m. till 3 a.m. He works from home and everything is online. We struggle to have actual conversations outside of good morning and good night, which has made me feel more alone in our relationship and neglected, whereas he wants more time for himself to work. I'm not the only one concerned. I've seen text messages from his male best friends stating they think he is wasting his life and want him to be happy. They recognize his plans of being a professional poker player are not working and are asking if he has a backup plan, which of course he does not. The other strain on our relationship is that I have paid for everything financially and it's making me feel resentful. I've paid for all the rent and bills and half of the food. He contributes to the weekly shop twice a month, and that is all I receive financially from him. He does not thank me or is grateful.
Oh my God.
I've been financially supporting us for months. My car broke down and I am 3K down, which has put more of a financial strain on us. I asked him to get a part-time job to help with our finances, and he refuses as he doesn't want to give up his dream. He says I'm being unfair, selfish, superficial, and pressuring him too much. He says I'm superficial for caring about the money and that other professional poker player partners will even support them financially for up to a year or more. I've never heard of that, which I have no idea how true that statement even is. He goes on and on that poker is his dream, but in the next breath he would say if he won lots of money, he would only play poker time to time and wouldn't make a career out of it anymore. I believe my boyfriend has become addicted and is too proud and afraid to admit his failures. It's come to the point that he's become violent and probably different man than who I originally met. I don't know where to start.
I don't either. I mean,
yeah, obviously, once there's violence, there's nothing really to talk about. So let's ignore that for 1 second and focus on the rest of the post. He saved up money. He set it aside because he wanted to try this, which is not the way that I would recommend going about it, but it's at least doing something responsible. I would say you need to play part-time and prove that you're a winner over a long period of time before you quit your job or leave school.
Well, she asked him to get a part-time job and he said no, and he apparently also does not show any gratefulness and doesn't thank her for anything that she does. He's a mess.
Yeah, he's a mess.
He's a mess. Not all poker players are like this, first of all. So she's probably like, I'm never dating another poker player. There are many poker players out there that are responsible, have humility, and wouldn't make you feel like that. You're too good of a person, and you're going to feel bad throwing him out on his ass. But if he's not even grateful for her helping him, not just financially, but for
it would be one thing if they had, they've been together 4 years and he'd carried his weight or even supported both of them for 3 years, and now he's having a rough patch.
He's been supporting him the whole time.
Yeah, he's never. I mean, basically, this is not the way to go about being a professional poker player. Is he right that if you have more time to dedicate to it, that you can improve faster? Sure. But if you can't become a winner at small stakes over like a year or two doing it part-time, then you're probably not capable of making it a career. Yes, you could get there faster doing it full-time, but you don't know whether or not you can make it until you try. So I would always recommend starting sooner. Let's also keep in mind, let's not just focus on this relationship, but other people watching who are in a relationship with a poker player and don't understand poker. What are some things that are important for them to understand, or some things that might seem like red flags to them that aren't, and then some other things that maybe are?
I think a red flag is you're having to pay for everything. If your significant other is trying to play professionally and, like you said, within a year has not made any progress and you're paying for everything, it is time to get a job and reevaluate.
Yeah.
And you don't have to give up on the poker dream, but you can't be mooching off someone else.
Yeah, it is.
He's a moocher, that guy.
Yeah, it is hard, and it does take a long time to get good enough, especially in today's poker world.
Look, I grinded low stakes in the casinos 2014, 2015, 2016 until 2017. Then I finally moved up. I grinded for like 4 years, and I saw every month, or like particularly every year, I was making more and more each month. If you go a whole year and you're still in the hole, it's not promising.
Yeah, it's not promising. I've never thought about poker as something where you kind of pay a tuition. Like, like you're in college for 4 years, you're losing money because you're paying for college, and then you have your education, and then you go off. I've always looked at poker as you should always be supporting yourself, I guess, year to year. There should not be a period where you're paying tuition. So I've always recommended that people not quit their job or not leave school or whatever the case may be until they've got that proven track record.
Yeah, you didn't quit college until your bankroll was rolled.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like most of the people that we read about are young. I feel for the young poker players who want to have boyfriends and girlfriends, but starting off in this business is tough. And I just know that it's hard to, like, the brain, like the maturity levels, it's really hard to understand. And
do you mean it's hard for a significant other to understand?
Yeah. Poker? And like, I almost want to say, if you're like 21 or 22 and you're trying to grind and become a professional, it's almost like maybe go on dates, but just like just wait to get in a relationship until you feel like you're stable, like you've got like a grip on things.
I don't know. I feel like I was always responsible, even at a young age, but I don't want to tell people to write it off. But I think what I will tell people is know that a relationship is a responsibility. If I look back at myself at age 20, just obsessed with poker. I mean, I was still in school, but I basically was not going to class. When I was not spending time with my friends, I was thinking about poker or playing poker. And I could not have been as successful as I was if I was in a relationship at that time. That doesn't mean that you can't be in a relationship and still be successful. If I were, it would have happened more slowly. My point is, know that I think you can do it as long as you're aware that that means you're sacrificing something. You can't do what I was doing then and have a relationship. You have to choose to do less and have a relationship.
Building any career takes a lot of time. I wouldn't have gotten good at poker. I wouldn't have been grinding the low stakes at the casinos if you hadn't fully like dove into your poker site endeavors and your businesses that just consumed so much of your time. Like, before we were married, you had your training site, but you didn't have a ton of other stuff going on.
I was mostly a poker player.
Yeah, and so like we had a lot of time together, and you had a pretty relaxed schedule. You would play, I would do whatever. But once you like decided to go full throttle with the poker site, I found myself like having a lot of time alone. But thankfully, I love to play, so I just I thought, well, I'm going to use this time to like really try and get good. But yeah, you need a lot of time, and you need to be able to focus. And we had established our relationship, and we had like a really good foundation. And so when we kind of had more time away from each other, like we were still good, But I don't think like you were that busy when we met. You went through a really, really stressful few years after we got married. And looking back, I'm grateful that we had already fully connected and formed our solid bond. Because I don't think like if we had met when you were doing all that, like that would have been crazy. Early 20s relationships are just tougher because you don't fully know yourself. And well, maybe you did. Like, Mr. Phil could have gotten married when he was 17. He was like,
I knew myself.
Mr. Phil.
Mr. Phil.
Yeah. So I just think like it sounds like a lot of these guys are just obsessed with poker. They're young. They don't have their shit together yet, and they need to not have girlfriends yet. These particular people. You were different. You could have had a girlfriend. We get it.
Well, no. But I couldn't have done what I did. And to your point, like during the first few years of our marriage, when I was so busy and stressed with the new business, like you said, had we met then, it probably wouldn't have, because I would have been not
present.
Not present enough.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think.
And there's nothing wrong with being obsessed with your passion and your job. And I've always been career oriented, and I've always wanted to make money and be good at what I'm doing and be a professional in a kind of a field that I just like, like acting and poker. Those are very not usual careers. So I get it, but yeah.
So there is an update
at
the top of it. Well, it doesn't start off good. Update. Since he was last violent to me, which was when I made this post, he had planned to leave me for a whole month after. Today, he had packed everything and left while I was at work, and left a letter and blocked me on everything. He said he wanted to fix things initially, but clearly that was a lie. Yesterday was my mother's 7th death anniversary. I asked for his support and love, which he gave, but was all a show. In the morning, he was gone, to my shock. He said he loves himself and his goals more than me, and he knows he's too selfish for me. I'm very lost and broken at the moment. Thank you, everyone, for your kind words. I worry he will move on quick and succeed in poker without me. Well, you don't have to worry about that.
You don't have to worry about that. I'm sad that she didn't get to kick him out, but I'm glad he's out of her life. Like, look, she's going to learn a lot from this. I mean, that's just how you have to look at any broken relationship. You have to learn from it, and time will heal her wounds, and she's going to be fine.
She probably won't see this because she doesn't follow poker things. But no, yeah. What really?
He might.
He'll see it.
He got mad at her.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not clear to me that it was about the post.
Oh,
it might have been that she posted right after that. But maybe he's figured out. But you probably won't succeed in poker. But yeah, I was bummed that her takeaway is like, he did all of this. He said he loves himself and his goals more than me, and then she still kind of wants him back. I know. I mean, ending a relationship is hard, no matter, even if you know it's not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she's going to be better off, guaranteed.
Yeah.
There's one more if I want. This one is, my boyfriend is a poker player. I know this may seem a little unconventional, but my boyfriend has just recently started up poker as a serious profession, and it's difficult watching him on bad days or losing streaks. What can I do to support him from my end?
I mean, cheering up anybody when they're sad, it's awkward. Yeah. And, because sometimes it feels like no matter what you say or suggest, they're just like, so,
It's extra hard in poker too, because you don't know, you might say something that is stupid.
Yeah.
Not because you're stupid, but because it's just, you don't know. It's easy to say the wrong thing. I remember a well-known poker, maybe I don't know why he would care, but a well-known poker player who was telling me about, he was on this trip. It was a new girlfriend, and with a bunch of friends too. And a bunch of them went to the beach all day, and he stayed because there were good games, and he was playing online. And he lost like $600,000. And when she found out, she said, like, wouldn't it have been better if you just come and hung out with us? Which is like,
that's not helpful. Yeah.
It's a normal thing to think if you don't understand that.
I think just ask him if he's had a bad day. So ask him, look, I'm here if you want to hang out, or if you want to watch anything, or if you want to get some food. I'm here. If you don't want to talk, that's cool. If you want to be alone, that's cool. Just kind of give them the options, and that's all you can really do. I mean,
it is.
It is.
There's
everyone's going to have bad days, and you suggest some options, and
yeah, I would say that it's like bad days at any other thing. But the problem is, in other relationships, when you have a bad day at work, you can say, "Man, my boss said this, and it was like so out of line, and I've been really angry." And the other person can empathize and be like, "Oh, I understand," and maybe even give suggestions. But in poker, you can't so much do that. And so that's a struggle. And so, like you said, just be there for them. And the one thing I would say to avoid actually is trying to problem solve for them, because due to a lack of understanding of poker, oftentimes a suggestion will be like, well, maybe you should play something, maybe you shouldn't play, or maybe you should play like easier games, or maybe you should just play 1 hour.
Yeah.
And so the suggestions will sometimes be really annoying.
Yeah.
Through no fault of your own.
Right.
So be there. Don't problem solve, but be there.
I think what we gathered from these posts, there was a little bit of a theme, and none of the problems were all that surprising. Dating a poker player who is just starting out is going to be next near impossible, I feel like. Certainly, you can survive if you've been together for a long time already. But if you are dating someone who is in the beginning stages of becoming a professional poker player, it is going to be extremely challenging in many different ways. It might not just be poker. When someone is diving headfirst into a new career and that's all they're fixated on and they're obsessed with it, poker is actually something that you can be even more obsessed with than a lot of other jobs. It is addicting. You can have a healthy relationship with it, though. You can become a very successful professional, and if that's your boyfriend's dream or your girlfriend's dream, you can do your best to support them, but it is going to be hard because they are going to need to apply a lot of hours and to get good and to become a winning player. And you will be backburned. You just will. And if you're okay with that, and you don't mind being on the side and cheering them on, and maybe it can last. But I feel like it's tough. You don't agree with me?
I don't agree. I mean, here's the thing. You said, somebody who's in the beginning stages of becoming a professional poker player. I don't think one should decide that they're in the beginning stages of becoming a professional poker player, because I think one should play it as a hobby, try to become like a winning recreational player or semi-professional while they have another job. And then if they succeed over a long time, then they become a professional, that they try it out on their own. I think that,
I guess when I was saying all that, I was envisioning that poor girl in the apartment with the guy who wasn't doing what you're saying.
Yeah.
And so I was more coming from that place. Obviously, if you go the smart route, you're going to have a higher success rate.
Sure. I do think it's not exclusive to poker, and that, when you're with somebody who's very driven and goal oriented and therefore often obsessive, there are going to be spurts of heavy focus on what they're trying to achieve. And there are going to be, presumably, when you're so obsessed with what you're doing professionally, there are going to be ups and downs that carry over into your life, because it means so much to you. I think choosing to be with somebody who's very driven in that way is like an important choice. And I think it's a quality that some people really admire and love about somebody. But for other people, it's a quality that they don't like. So I think that's part of knowing whether you're interested in somebody who's going to be like that. And that's not to say every poker player is super driven and obsessive, but a lot of them are, at least a lot of the ones that succeed.
I mean, I just feel like if you're going to date a poker player, find one that's already been doing it for a long time. That's going to be easier.
It's going to be easier, but I mean, other people, the heart wants what it wants,
Yeah.
I think it's possible to have a healthy relationship with poker and with another person, but I do think it's challenging. And poker is absolutely a harder than average career by a lot.
Yeah. And I just think emotional maturity goes such a long way with it. So that's why I keep saying, like, when you're young and you're starting out, you're going to feel like when you're being backburned, or you're going to feel those emotions more deeply than you are several years down the line once you've emotionally matured more. The girl in the apartment, she was feeling very left out. But maybe if they met later, that he had already been established and she had more, she'd feel more secure and not so emotional about everything. She had every right to feel emotional about all the things she was feeling emotional about. But
yeah, poker is just a very hard living. I would say probably the closest thing is being with an entrepreneur who.
Luckily, I'm with both.
Yeah. Because there are a lot of great things about poker that make it better in many ways than a regular job. You can make your own hours. You don't have to report to somebody. You rewarded for the work that you do. There are no office politics. Well, there can be, but there are a lot of great things about it, but it is such a hard career. I think something about it, because you're so on while you play poker, and it's actually changing the physical state of your body. You have more adrenaline. Your level of focus is different. I think it really wears you down, and it can make other things feel insignificant at times.
And it's hard to force yourself to take breaks, because once the adrenaline's going and you're on the grind, that's why they call it a grind.
Yeah.
It's really hard to stop the grind and go on a date or show your wife some love.
Yeah.
But when you do that, when you take time off and you connect with your loved ones, you're going to come back to the table even stronger. You're going to be relaxed and rested. And yeah.
I think we can also give, the most generic relationship advice ever, which is you want to communicate. I think in a lot of these relationships, these people are coming to Reddit to talk about the problems they're having, but they're not expressing them so much to their partner in a lot of these cases. Maybe half of these would have been resolved if the person posting had explained how they felt, and then the other person.
I think the girl that came to Las Vegas, though, if she had communicated to him on the trip, I don't think it would have made much of a difference.
Yeah, but what difference it would have made is that she would have communicated it, and then he probably would have still neglected her, and then she would have known. Then she wouldn't come back and say, well, he said I didn't ask him, so maybe he's right. Maybe, she would have known that he was not putting her first, and even when she expressed her needs.
Yeah, you can communicate as a young couple. It doesn't always.
No, it's hard.
It doesn't always work. Yeah. Your girlfriend or your wife or your husband, whoever's the non-poker player, they want you to succeed. They love you and they support you, and you can't just leave them out on the sidelines all day long like that kid in Vegas. People, at the end of the day, your relationships are going to be the most important thing. You can always go find a game. Your partner might not always be around, and
I just struggle to find the game.
Okay, well, the 2-5 players will have no problem.
Okay. I want to say also more generic relationship advice, but I think especially with poker, it's very easy when one person is saying, hey, the fact that you're staying up late and playing, or XYZ is making me feel like you don't care about me. It's easy for the response to be defensive and, what I'm doing is totally normal.
Yeah.
And it's really important to look past that and say, it's not about blaming yourself or saying, oh, I screwed up, I'm sorry. It's about hearing your partner and hearing how they're feeling and hearing what they need. And then you figure out how you can make them feel better, make them happier within the confines of
staying up till 3 a.m. playing poker is normal to a poker player. It's not normal in real life.
And the solution doesn't have to be that you stop staying up till 3 if that's when the games are, but the solution is, hey, I can't not do that, otherwise it's going to severely hurt my earn, but what can I do? What else can I do to make you feel supported and to let you know that I care about you?
And then you have to do what that one day a week that you set aside, then you have to stick with it. We have problems doing that.
We do. We haven't quite figured that one out, so we don't have advice there.
What are some things that you think we do well?
I think one thing that we figured out recently, I think I was making a mistake until pretty recently, with you wanting to play poker. And so recently you've been playing a lot more than you were in years past because you've been busy being a mom. So you wanted to play because you felt like you wanted to, you enjoy it and you love it and you want to contribute. And for a while, my reaction was, don't worry about contributing in that way. And I think I was kind of dismissive of
my dreams and aspirations.
Yeah.
And my desires to contribute.
Because from my perspective, I was like, my hourly is
you're home with a baby. And blah, 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 blah.
that I can contribute more with that extra time. But it took me a little too long to realize that that's not what it was about.
I enjoy contributing financially. Yeah.
It wasn't about maximizing our EV and to the T. to the highest level possible. It was about finding a way that we could both pursue our
Like
passions.
I wanted to get back to work.
Yeah.
And you're like, you don't need to work.
Yeah. I think one thing that you do well is trust me, because I've, throughout our relationship, taken a lot of risks, and some that haven't paid off.
Most haven't.
And you, many are in the process of paying off. But you have your doubts sometimes. But at the end of the day, you let me know that you trust me and that you're not.
Well, you're very convincing.
Yeah.
You think you're the smartest person in the world?
I don't think I'm the smartest person in the world.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I do trust you.
I appreciate that.
You don't trust me, though.
What does that mean?
I mean, you trust me, but like, I'll spit out some fact and you just never believe anything I say.
That's true. Yeah. When I say something with certainty, I'm certain about it. But when Farah says something with certainty, she's like 80% sure.
And you just love to be right.
Yeah. Well, if I think that you're wrong, let's call a spade a spade. Jeez. I don't think, is that a poker pun? I don't think it is. It's probably about the shovel. But we've been very successful, and a lot of poker players are struggling a lot more. I've struggled in different ways over the last many years with businesses that failed or were failing at times, and that was a struggle. But our career problems are in a different league than most people's career problems, and so we haven't necessarily been faced with some of the issues that some of these people were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, are you mostly talking financial?
Yeah, I mean, one of the hardest things in poker, emotionally, is to wonder if you are not going to be good enough to win anymore. It's been a bad stretch, and you still have some bankroll left, but you're like, man, maybe I can't beat these games anymore. And the next game down, or like the rake's too high, and so you're wondering if you can make it or not. That's a really tough place to be. And similarly, if you're not quite making ends meet, or you're like just making your rent each month, a really tough thing to do, especially as a poker player, because your bankroll is kind of your lifeblood in your career. And so there are a lot of common, I would guess, career problems that we haven't dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my point is, I don't want to go through this saying like we've got it all figured out.
No.
We did it. So
we definitely have periods of our marriage where we're not as close, or we don't feel connected, or maybe we're not being as sweet to each other as we should be, or we're not being grateful enough for each other, or we take each other for granted. Or I mean, we're normal humans, so that all happens, but we get it together. Yeah. I think it's just, appreciate your person brings to the table, and vice versa. Moms and dads, everybody works hard.
Mm-hmm. No matter what, whether it's, the most common is somebody who's a full-time parent, somebody who's working full-time. But this happens I noticed in business with like other people's careers. Everybody's job takes more than you think. There are so many people who I've worked with or have known where I'm like, what do you even do all day? That's so hard. But then they think the same about me. And
I've had people ask me that, like,
mm-hmm.
when I wasn't really playing anymore and I was stay at home momming, like, what do you do all day? I mean, you have no idea, like, the operations of this home. Even like, you get to just go into your office.
I get to take it easy all day. Yeah.
Just being didn't you see a figure that a stay-at-home mom should make like how much a year or something?
I've never seen this figure.
Yes, you did. You showed it to me.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Something about the hours.
Oh, they put in more hours.
They should be making like, I don't know, whatever.
I don't remember that at all. Your other husband. One thing that I did want to say, another bit of generic advice. I think a lot of problems are solved when you accept that you are imperfect and your partner is imperfect also. Because I think so many problems are caused by, like keeping tally of the mistakes that your partner made.
Wishing they would do things differently or act differently in certain situations.
Yeah, and then similarly, a lot of problems are caused by when you're called out for something, wanting to feel like, oh, well, I don't do anything wrong. But just realizing that We all screw up.
I accepted all your faults many years ago. And it's a huge weight lifted.
Yeah.
Now I've like got nothing to like be annoyed with you about.
Yeah. I'm very annoying.
I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
if you want your partner to change something about themselves, you're going to feel annoyed by them,
Yeah.
you know, and that's not a good feeling. You don't, if you're feeling annoyed by your partner, like, oh, I wish they would do this. I wish they would do this.
It just adds up.
Yeah. And like, it's really going to be on you to accept that they're not going to be changing probably. I mean, I know people can change, but there's certain things about, you just got to get over it.
Yeah.
or go
Yeah.
find someone else. Okay.
All right. So we just need some kind of outro.
Good luck to the editors.
Seriously.
This might have been a huge waste of time.
Yeah. If you're watching this, our editor salvaged something from this, and I hope you enjoyed it. We will see you next time doing something. Thanks, honey.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Oh, it wasn't recording.
I'll kill you.
Just kidding.